Welcome to the Get Out In It podcast, keeping our mental and physical well-being balanced by heading out into nature and doing stuff.
The activity isn't important. Walk, run, hike, bike, whatever it is, just find something you enjoy and get out in it. The point of this podcast is to show how ordinary people can achieve extraordinary levels of health and fitness.
Out here, we'll share informal, inclusive advice for anyone trying to improve their mental and physical well-being, based on our own experiences and professional knowledge from our special guests.
So let's lace up and get out in it.
And here we are. Welcome to episode 7. What a week it has been. How are you, Maria Herring?
I am very well, James Bale. Like every single week when we speak to each other, I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Well, that's a very nice, consistent way to approach life. I'm well. I'm actually better than I normally am because I've been in France this week, keeping you company, which has been nice. And not only have we been enjoying some sunny weather, but also I went to see that new Spider-Man film with you, and that was incredible.
It was fucking awesome.
It really was. It blew me away. So anybody out there who wants a little bit of advice this week, get yourself to the cinema and see the new animated Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, because it was like a roller coaster ride, but a really comfy one that just took you with it.
And it's the only time we're ever going to advise anybody to stay inside and do something.
Yeah, walk to the cinema and then and then walk back from the cinema.
Got out in it.
And so, first question, as always, what have you done this week, Maria Herring, to get out in it?
Well, this week I haven't got out in it as much as I normally do. And there's been one reason for that. That was you, because you've been here. And you have still got your hip complaint. So we've been a little bit, minimalist. I'm going to say minimalist in what we've been able to do. I've done some of my training, not all of it. But yeah, it's been a reduced week of getting out in it this week. How about you, even though I know the answer?
I'm not quite sure how one man's hip complaint limits the amount of getting out in it you could do. There were moments this week where you had a run or a workout scheduled and you were just like, I'm a bit tired, I'm not sure I can do it. And that was nothing. You didn't consult my hip. It wasn't like, hip, do you think I should go running? So no, I mean, but I get you. We've had a fairly relaxed week. You have been doing some training and you've done some decent runs. You've done some good hill repeat session. Mm-hmm. You've been for a run this morning. But yeah, I know what it's like when you've got somebody else there who's like unable to join you for these things. So what's my getting out been this week? Well, to be honest, I'm still struggling with a hip injury. It is feeling a little bit better. It's feeling less nippy, much less tender when I stand up now. I still can't quite walk in a straight line, but I'm getting there. But I've just been enjoying the sunshine, getting out for walks, walking around with you, and getting out as much as I can. But I've found that walking with a walking stick is helping me considerably because it's taking the weight off the affected leg. I'm not a huge fan of walking with a walking stick, but I am doing it.
But it's not just any walking stick, though, is it? It's one of my very, very fancy Harrier Nordic hiking sticks. So it's hardly a walking stick.
That's true. I do. I carry it well. I do look. What's the word?
Suave.
Debonair. But
it's a French word.
Is it? What does it mean?
Suave.
Oh.
Which is also a French word.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Well, there you go. That's what we've been up to. And I think we should go and have a chat with someone else who's been getting out with it in it a lot more than we have for the last year.
This is going to be such a good hike and a chat.
Getting into it.
So this week we are well lucky to have Zoe Wafelbakker with us, endurance athlete, realtor, mum and all-round badass. Originally from New Zealand, but now living in Austin, Texas, Zoe is just about to line up for Ironman Switzerland in July. Zoe is the second guest in our Bouncing Back Embedded micro series after taking a little bit of a hiatus to have a family who we've met, and they are totes adorbs.
So yeah, Zoe, it's great to have you on, mate. How are things?
Good. Thank you, James. Thank you for having me on.
It's a really interesting journey you're going on. And what we'd like to do, what we ask all our guests, the first question is, what have you done this week to get out?
Nice one. So this week, well, yesterday, just walking up the stairs was enough, like because I had quite a big weekend. So Saturday, I had a 85-mile bike ride and a 2.5 hour run on Sunday.
Oh,
So I was feeling it a little bit yesterday, and I should have been out in it doing a swim, but I gave myself a rest day instead.
nice.
So, and then today, if you call being in your garage, and looking out at your neighbor's house, I'll be doing that on the bike in a couple of hours' time. So
Oh, is that turbo
just
stuff?
yeah, that's turbo stuff. So
Okay.
it's just a lot easier. But I don't think that kind of fits your like getting out in it. Like getting out in my garage isn't
All
quite
of
in
it,
it.
all part of the rich tapestry of what you're trying to achieve, to be honest.
True, true.
Okay, so Zoe, we've got you on because we would like to talk about your training journey towards your Ironman in July in Switzerland, which isn't too far from where I currently live. Although I can't see
Hmm.
you, and I'm so disappointed that I'm not going to be around to see you for that. But James will be there, so that's kind of cool.
It is amazing that he's going to be there.
Yeah. So we're going to go back in time, first of all, back to before your family, when you were first getting out in it, first training. And I'd like to know, how did you get into racing and training in the first place?
I was hoping you'd ask this question because it's got quite a fun start. So, I moved back to the UK. I didn't move back, I moved to the UK. Sorry, I moved back to the UK and I was living with this guy, Ed, and we were in a two-bedroom kind of apartment style. It was his apartment, and he had his own ensuite. And the bathroom that I had was the kind of the shared bathroom. But Ed had just done Ironman Switzerland. That's when it was in Zurich, and and he had a picture of himself at the finish line and his medal and what have you, right above my toilet. So I saw this damn picture every day of like Ed crossing the finish line, and that kind of started the thought process of like triathlon, and that could be cool. And at the time, Mark and I weren't even engaged. It was in the very, very early days. And so I just thought to myself, yeah, I could get into something, why not? Give it a go. If Ed can do it, well, why not? I was a swimmer. I was a decent school swimmer. Bike, sure, I can ride a bike. I used to live in the Netherlands, how hard can it be? And the run, it's like, the run, I might need to work on that one. And so my first ever triathlon was a super sprint at Dorney Lake, and which was I don't even know if they still do them at Dorney Lake anymore, but it was a great venue, and it was a women's only try. I actually still have the t-shirt from it. And it was such an awesome atmosphere. And one of the things that I loved, I didn't want to invest in too much kit because it was like, nah, it might not be into this. And so I borrowed Mark's bike, and he had like a giant cyclocross, and he's like, 7 inches taller than me. So I must have looked absolutely ridiculous on this bike. And then I did the run, and I think it was only like a 5K, or might have even been a super sprint. It might have been just like a 2.5K at the end. But I'd done very little. I'd gone to the pool and done like a couple of laps and very little training. And, so I did feel a little bit kind of spent at the end, but there was someone in front of me, like maybe about 100 meters in front of me. And I saw the finisher, and it was just like maybe 50 meters in front of me. It's like, no, it doesn't matter how spent I am. And there's still that damn competitiveness like came in, and it's like, and had enough to cross the line and beat her, which is just was awesome. Not beating her, but the environment and the buzz that it gave me. And the thing that really attracted me was the community. Like it was just so friendly and so supportive. It was awesome. So that's how I got into it. And then it just progressed. Like, oh, I did the super sprint. Okay, let's do a sprint next and see how that goes. And oh, I did a sprint. Let's do an Olympic. And Olympic, oh, let's do a half Ironman. And that's, slowly went on as Mark and my relationship went on. Like shortly after, he decided to give triathlon a go as well. And so then we started doing them together. And that was really cool. So, moving on, probably a good 2 years from there, we'd got engaged and then married. Just after we got married, he did Lanzarote Ironman. Yeah, like 3 months after we got married, and then we started like doing a few half Ironmans together, and that was really cool. And the training together, pre-family, was just cool because we were living in Richmond and then in Teddington. So you had the Surrey Hills on our doorstep, you had Bushy Park or you had Richmond Park and to go out on runs in, and it was just beautiful. It really was. And our weekends were training rides together on a Saturday, and I'd never ran with him on a Sunday because he's far too fast for me and it just makes me feel rubbish. It's my issue, it's not his. Um, but that's what our weekends looked like, and it was awesome. And it's just what I love about triathlon is you can keep it at sprints if you want, and you can like nail that, or you can take it each step on, and to the bigger distances.
And how old were you when you started this journey?
Good question.
Yeah.
Oh, ooh. I was probably trying to think when I got married. Probably about 32.
Okay.
So how long ago was that? It was about 14 years ago.
Time
Yeah.
has gone by, eh? When
Mm-hmm.
was your last race of significance before you decided to take your sabbatical?
Yeah, of significance. That was Mallorca, 70.3. And that would have been Olivia was born in 2013. And so that was in the May of 2014. That was 10 months after she was born.
And at the time, did you consider the fact that you probably weren't going to race again for a while? Or
Wow.
where were you at? And do you remember what that race felt like?
Yeah, totally. So that particular race, well, before having kids, the last race was Aix-en-Provence, 70.3.
Good race.
And amazing race. And Mark and I did that together. Hills, technical descents. It was beautiful. Amazing lake swim. Hilly run course. Wasn't quite mentally prepared for that, but prefer the flat runs. But yeah, that was amazing. And then I got pregnant with Olivia pretty quickly after that. And then while I was, you're still fit, I was still fit when I was pregnant. And you still got that mindset of like, I'm going to get back into triathlons and stuff. So I booked the Mallorca half when I was pregnant with her. And kind of like digressing a little bit, it was awesome to actually have that in the calendar, for many reasons. Like because I knew I had to start exercising pretty quickly after having her. I had a few health things happen when I was, around the 3 or 4 month mark when she was in utero, and so then that kind of tapered off. And then once we got over that, I was able to kind of do basic fitness again. And then I wanted to get back into it shortly after she was born. And so it really helped with my mental health, because I took a year off to have her, not yep, to have her to spend time with her. And she was a summer baby. So it meant that I was out in it, with her pretty much immediately. And as soon as it was safe to go running with her and stuff, then I was out in Bushy Park, running with her, and that was awesome. It was brilliant to do. She was getting the fresh air, and even in the winter, because I was training a lot, obviously over the winter, not obviously, but the race was in May, over the winter with her, and it was great. And also, like I had to get up early, really early before she would get up in the morning to do my bike sessions, because otherwise, she was only so patient with sitting in a little bassinetti thing watching me on the turbo trainer in our bathroom in our little Teddington flat. So I would get up at 4 or 4:30 in the morning to jump on the trainer a couple of times a week before she got up. So that also helped, like, this kid's got to sleep, because if she doesn't sleep, I don't get to train in the morning. If I don't get to train in the morning, then it's not going to be a good day. And that was, it was just, mental health wise, after you have a kid, you can go in so many different directions. And for me, I never went in a negative direction. I think a lot of it was down to training. And so then she was a sleeper as well, which also helped. Getting to Mallorca, I did that race, and while I was training with Livy before the 70.3, I had booked the full in the September. And literally on that vacation on the May, the 70.3 trip, Mark was approached by his company to move over here. And so, I was essentially training for the full Ironman in September, but then it looked like it was going to be happening super quickly. So I foolishly withdrew. And I didn't realize it would take that long to get to here. But it did. And I've booked about 3 other events, and then there are a number of reasons why they didn't come through. But yeah, so 9 years. It's been 9 years.
Do you think having that 70.3 booked helped you get back to train, give you the focus and the structure to get back to training? Do you think if you hadn't had that event booked, you didn't have any events booked, you just
100%.
Yeah, you sort of gave
100%.
impetus.
Absolutely. Like I have to work to a plan. I've just got a personality that has to work to a plan. And so back then, my coach used training. I had a coach as well. I kept Fiona, and something's in the calendar. It's so much easier to, when you've, and especially when someone else writes it, that's my personality. So it's like, right, this is what you need to do today. Okay, don't need to think about that. Just need to make sure I've got the right clothes and go out and do it. And it's the same thing. I think it's so important for anyone to have anything in the calendar, Otherwise, it's so easy to give up. You got to work towards something.
Yeah.
And something that challenges you a little bit.
It removes the decision fatigue. It removes the opportunity for you to say, I'm not going to do this today.
100%, 100%. And I think, the something that challenges you as well. And with me, Mark said to me when I was looking at, talking about the different journeys that I could come back, should have started out as get back into doing a sprint and then a Olympic and what have you. And it's like, nah, I just want to go straight to the full, because I want to do something that I have to train for. I could probably wing a sprint, or I could probably wing an Olympic, but there's no winging a full Ironman, and I think, and whatever that is, if someone can only run 500 meters, book a 10K, because right now that's going to push you, or book a 5K if you can only run 500 meters. Book something that actually means you have to go out and train. Otherwise, you might feel like a bit of a dick, within yourself. That's it. I don't want to feel like a dick. I want to give it my best shot.
So when Livy was born, and obviously you were still training because you started training quite quickly after, because you had this half Ironman coming up.
Yep.
Did you know that there would be such a long break in your training and racing career?
No. So after I didn't know, I really didn't think it. And because, reversing a little bit, when Mark and I got married, and when we first got together, we weren't into this at all. We were really very much into partying. How we met, as you guys know, and then just things started changing, and then our weekends, sure, there are still nights out and what have you, but we would do those rides and what have you. And when you start thinking about having kids and what have you, it's like, oh, we're still going to be doing events, and we'll train the weekend, and we'll play tag team, and got this glorified picture of what it's all going to look like. And I'll be honest with you, with one kid, that's totally doable. And the year that we had Olivia as well, like Mark represented the world and, went to the Worlds when Olivia was about 6. Oh no, she was a bit old. She was about 6, a year old. Yeah, I think it was shortly after I did the Mallorca 70.3. Then Mark went off to the Worlds in Edmonton. I think that was in like the September or something like that, August. And so we were doing it. I'd done the 70.3. He went, went to the Worlds for Olympic distance, and so we kind of like, yeah, it's all happening. And then the move happened, the move over here, and then I got pregnant with Thomas, pretty quickly after that. And so we always thought training would be just a part of our life. And then Mark ruptured his or tore his his Achilles, not the ACL, his Achilles, and so just these things started coming in, and then you've got 2 kids, and it's like more difficult to go out training, and things started piling up. But I booked the first one I booked was Thomas was a couple of years old, about 2 years old, I think. And I booked Lake Placid. It's like, okay, it's time to get back into this. I was really excited about Lake Placid. It's another hilly course, beautiful lake swim. It's meant to be quite an iconic American race because they had, the Winter Olympics there. And so I booked that. What I didn't realize at the time of booking that is that I was in fact pregnant.
Oh my God.
10 weeks pregnant before I realized it. That, Mallorca full had, that missed out on that one, then Lake Placid. And then I did do a little sprint, Lake Pflugerville here, but that's not really meaningful to your first point. And then I booked after Emmy was born. We're sitting around with some friends and what have you, and it's kind of probably important to note. It was like, let's do Taupo, and this was. I think the timing was it was shortly after my mum was diagnosed with ALS, or motor neuron disease, and so mum had always been a massive, massive cheerleader of anyone, sports, and I remember back in my like elementary, school days of like swimming doing at school meets, and like my head coming up, and I'd see mum screaming on the sides, like she was massive. And I'd always envisaged her being at the finish line, and then, she was diagnosed in the August with ALS, and I thought, right, Lake Taupo, you never know how long someone's going to have with that disease. And I thought we'd have time. And she passed within a year, or not within, she passed in 13 months. So, and then COVID happened. COVID happened in the 2020. That was 19 that we booked it, something like that. I'm messing up the dates. And then COVID happened, and there was no New Zealand Ironman that year. And as it happened, mum had passed away. So kind of a blessing in disguise, because it would have sucked to do that race and not actually have her there. And then COVID finished, and it's like, I've got to do this damn Ironman, like, come on. So, and then we decided on Switzerland.
So in fact, for you, throughout your entire family, you'd never thought at any point, oh, I'm going to stop training now to build a family. That was never on the cards for you.
No.
No.
No. No, it was always, it's one of those things, hey, and I think the realization of, with mum passing away, and especially with such a horrid disease, is like, I feel like, and to my point at the beginning, like starting with a super sprint, I've always felt like I've needed to complete that circle. Like I needed to complete. Don't start talking about ultra damn triathlons with me. I'm not on board with that. Like this is my thing. This is the biggest I think I'll do. I just need to complete that. I started at the very, very smallest triathlon, and now I want to just complete that circle of the longest one. And so it's always been there. And then when, you know, something like ALS comes along, and you just go like, why wouldn't I? Okay. Like when I get to 90 years old, and this has been very much my mantra since my early 20s, like one, you know, many years from now, and I'm 19 years old, 90 years old, I'll be sitting on my back porch and looking back on my life and just, I want to smile. I want to smile for the experiences that I've had, and just, and not the regret, but I don't want to have regrets on things that I didn't do. Um, and then when you look at yourself and go, okay, well, shit, there's going to be a lot of work, you know, like not in the same shape as what I was after having Olivia. I'm not even in the same shape I was after having Thomas, you know, like Emmy kicked my ass, you know, the third kid really kicked my ass. Like this is starting from super sprint again, basically. And then it's like, why wouldn't I? You know, like I can breathe. I've got two legs, I've got two arms, I can swim, I can bike, I can run. Yes, it's starting from scratch. But if I don't do this, and it's always been in my mind to do it, I will regret that, you know, because there's no good reason. You know, I can use these limbs that I've got on me. So I should bloody well use them, because there's a lot of people that can't.
Yeah, indeed. So during this period, you say you feel like you're starting from super sprint again. What level of activity and fitness have you managed to maintain? Not right now, obviously, because you've been training for an Ironman, but during the period where you were having all the kids and thinking about races and wanting to enter races, then COVID happened. Were you still training in a structured way at that point, or
I
just
was not
drifting?
structured. I was, because it wasn't really, other than like a sprint that I did at Lake Pflugerville, I'd jump on the turbo every now and then. And I lived in a neighborhood that had a really great, you know, 1.5 mile trail that surrounded it. And so I'd go for runs, you know, once or twice a week maybe, and then I'd jump on the trainer. But it was a handful, you know. My eldest daughter has some learning challenges that we didn't really at that early stage know where it was going, but she there was a lot of stuff going on with that. And then having Thomas, the second kid, like, and then with Livy's, you know, challenges, it's like I just felt torn. I was like, having two kids was a hell of a lot harder for me than having one. And then throw, and I've got a business as well. So, and then throw in, you know, I started a business with just after Thomas was born, real estate. And then Emmy comes along. She was a little surprise bundle of joy. And my business was going really, really well at that point as well. And it's like, you know, and I wasn't even doing yoga and stuff. I was just I was probably just more doing out and about and doing walks and stuff. Um, and kids things, just being outdoors with them. There was no structure at that point. Yeah.
Did you find that a struggle, considering your mindset and the fact that you need that structure? Because I'm exactly the same. If I don't get my coach's Sunday email with my list of things to do in the week, I can't do anything. It's very
Yeah.
so
I
it's a struggle with
got
that.
into I got into 2 years ago, when you guys were out here actually. 2 years ago, yeah. I was really into yoga. I really got into hot yoga. And I love that. And I'm not doing it at the moment because I see someone that's like Chinese medicine, massage, whole body holistic, and she's like, you got enough yang girl. You got enough, like you're sweating enough. Do some easy yoga instead. Just like, you know, just go. And so I've been trying to get into just like yin, literally yin yoga. And that's been nice. But, you know, I really, 2 years ago, I started getting into hot yoga, and that was awesome. I loved that. I'd never really I tried it back in the UK, you know, before we moved here, so we could like acclimate, as the Americans say, to to the heat and sweating, get used to sweating. But I just loved it. I was doing it like 4 or 5 times a week. And so that gave me a good base level of, I don't know, base level of what? Heat and, you know, stronger muscles before actually the training into Ironman.
Good strength and conditioning with yoga.
Yeah.
So when did you? So July this year, July. full
Yes.
Ironman.
Yes.
Mental.
Yes.
I straight up don't understand triathlon. I love running. I love ultra marathons, but I don't understand
Well,
triathlon.
I was listening to one of the podcasts with Tim about the swimming. So
Oh
that,
my God. Yeah, no, I totally haven't started. It's like, no, never
yeah,
gonna happen. So you've got this full Ironman coming up in July. When did you start training for this? When
a
did
year ago.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I gave myself a year. Started August actually, probably August last year, not July last year. And July, my dad was out here and I was spending a lot of time with him and we went away on vacation to Georgia and stuff. And then got COVID, and so then recovered from COVID, and then the August started, and I got a coach because I need it written for me, and that's awesome as well. She's local, and so a lot of the rides that we go on, that's all organized for me as well because they're going on the rides. So,
You don't even
but
need to think of your route for the cycle.
pretty
Okay.
much no, I know, and especially because I didn't, you know, with Surrey and stuff, it was such an easy route going out. It's like, oh, and Texans, like even though the roads are a lot smaller in the UK, I felt say I used to commute into London, I used to live in Teddington and commute into London to like the city of London was damn safer than like cycling in Texas, like going from a morning commute in the damn rain, freezing cold was safer than cycling here. But fortunately, the people here, they know the routes that to go on with, the wide shoulders and stuff, but there's a lot of trucks. I think like one in every three is a, big truck, like not 18 wheeler, but,
They don't do small cars over there, huh?
they don't do small cars. No, no, they don't. So yeah, so that's all organized and that's the training just started, and it started very, very slowly and sensibly, and it was all very manageable, like one hour a day, and of swim, bike, run, strength training in there, and I didn't always do that, as James knows, and then in the last few months it's really ramped up.
Okay.
So
So what was it about last year that made you think, right, now is the time?
I don't know what it was. I think Emmy by that point was 3, and she was at daycare, and um, and so she's not, yeah, so she's at daycare, the kids are at school, and I think I just thought like I still want to do this, and if I leave it any later, like there's no time like the present, basically. Like Emmy doesn't need me. I can leave her with Mark, because that's part of it as well. Like he takes a hell of a load here. Like on Saturday, I was out from we had to drive to the destination ride, and so I left the house at 6 a.m. Maybe just before 6 a.m. and I was back at 3. And so that's, he's looking after 3 kids all day. So
Not just back at 3, you're back at 3 knackered as well, eh?
exactly, exactly. And just wanting some total downtime, want to be horizontal on the couch, like, get my food. And having a younger kid, like Emmy being younger, and being all over me when I got back and all of that kind of stuff, that would have been really difficult. And I just think Emmy was at the right age to be left with dad pretty much all weekend, essentially, and the other kids were too. So it's like if I wait any longer, something might happen, something will come up, and and yeah, why not, basically.
Excellent. So why the Ironman Switzerland? Why
Mm.
why travel all the way to Europe?
Couple of reasons.
Mm.
Number one, Mark's English, and we haven't seen English family for quite some time, since I was pregnant with Emmy and didn't know it. And wondered why I was so tired on that trip. And so that's like over 4 years since we've actually been back there. Didn't want to do a race in the UK just simply for the roads. I just don't really like the roads. Cycling, aren't the best compared to mainland Europe. And wanted a hilly course, wanted a lake swim, and I wanted a flat run. So, and it had to be over the summer holidays. So then that really narrows your search down. So it's like, it's going to be Europe, and I want those three things. And Switzerland came up. It's like, yeah. And the cycling brings me joy. And that bike course, like the cycling would be the strength out of the three. And having, a beautiful course like that, I think it'll just be a smile on my face the whole time. Yeah.
Pretty epic around there.
Yeah. It's just stunning. I haven't actually been to that area, but it just looks stunning. And the course, although it's not a technical course, which is kind of good because I've got a TT bike, and it's probably not best to have a technical course with a TT bike. James will know more about that than me. But it's a hilly course, and I do enjoy that. I love the descent. I'll lie if I said I love hills. I love going down hills. So, and it's perfect.
Nice. So, and it has a flat run.
It's got a flat run.
How is that? Or is it around the lake?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, and the town and stuff.
So just for people like me who don't really follow triathlon, a full Ironman, we know it's swim, bike, run. What are the distances that you will be doing?
Yeah, good question. Kilometers, do it for kilometers. 3.8 kilometer swim, 180 kilometer bike ride, and then a marathon, 42 kilometers. I do it in miles now because I'm in the US, and it just doesn't seem as daunting saying it in miles.
26 miles is like,
only 26.2 miles, that's fine. That's not a big number. And say 42 kilometers, like, oh shit, that's a long way.
It's much more fun running kilometers there. They go past so quick, so much quicker
than miles. And when I'm on a run, it's like, and it goes and it beeps at the mile mark, and you just go 1 mile, 1.6 kilometers. Oh shit. Like I'm always convinced. Like, oh yeah.
That's a beast of the race.
It is. But it's gonna be amazing. It will be pretty emotional, I suspect.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So in this last year where you've been training, building up to it, because we're about a month away from the race now, what struggles have you faced in this year?
Good question. Quite a few things. Early on, I got totally random, and I was going easily into it. Had a calf problem, which was around October, and it just wouldn't heal. It's like just something snapped in the back kind of thing. It didn't snap, it wasn't that bad, but I couldn't get running on it again. It just wasn't healing. And it was like, okay, it's fine, we've got plenty of time, like it's better to get this earlier on. But that was a real pain in the ass. But got through that. I think I was running properly by about December. That was a pain. And then health-wise, I've got discovered, last year that I've got Hashimoto's, which is like thyroid issues. And so what energy, so what is quite amazing is, when I first started like exploring what the heck was going on, with me, because my energy levels were so low that the thought of a run, and this was before starting training, the thought of a run would almost make me tired, and it's like, I'm not accepting this. This is not just because I've got 3 kids and a business and, life's busy. I refuse to accept that. And especially if you've been, pretty fit, and, I'm not any kind of speed demon. I'm your average everyday person. When I did the half Ironmans, it's like 6.5 hours. There's no like sub 5 or any kind of nonsense like that. My bike was always good. But there was, but that's still, you know, a decent level of fitness, you know, and I didn't struggle to get to that point. So I refused to accept that this is going to be life moving forward of having no energy. And so I went to a naturopath and went through a whole bunch of things of what it could be, and it ended up as was thyroid, Hashimoto's, and other interesting things. And, you know, just when you guys came to visit, you know, I'd just done like a anti-candida diet because there could have been candida in my gut, you know. And so just exploring all these things of what might be affecting my energy levels. And then we, you know, finally got our head around it. But the really damn annoying thing about thyroid stuff is like, oh, I'm doing this training, and at the minute I'm training like 16, 17 hours a week. My weight hasn't changed. My weight hasn't changed, she says, thumping her, you know. And that's okay. You know, like I said to you guys, you know, before we started this, like I think when you go into training, you know, for something like an Ironman, there has to be a much bigger reason why you don't do it to go in to lose weight. You know, that can be part of it, but you've got to, I think you've got to keep something. There's got to be something deeper to get you across the finish line, because I know, and I've accepted that, okay, whatever's going on with my body, you know, I've still got my fluffy bits, and that's okay, because I know I'm bloody strong. And being strong is far more important to me than having a few fluffy bits, you know. And I almost kind of like that. It's almost like being a cyclist on a really shitty bike, and everyone's got the really a flash, you know, all the gear and no idea. But you've got a shitty bike, but you're really good on the shitty, you know, you're still fast on the shitty bike, if you know what I mean. Like, I almost kind of like if you know, people might look and just go, really, you're doing an Ironman? It's like, yeah, there's strong, and that's an internal thing, you know. That's very much like I've got this like superpower inside me. I know I'm strong, and shit, that gives you confidence, you know. And I've totally digressed from your original question, but it's an amazing feeling. So going through with the thyroid stuff, and you know, just dealing with that. And then I got another injury, not injury, but my hip started playing up. But we've nailed that with some really that was really, again, playing havoc on my run. But we've just really nailed that recently with some amazing, very micro movements, hip movements, which is helping that. So the run, you know, you can run for days. That's not me. It will be one day.
One day,
It might be me
Was
on the
that a
9th of
commitment to an
July.
ultramarathon? Was that a commitment to an ultramarathon?
Totally sounded like
No, it's because like the Ironman might take me days.
Oh,
Like
okay.
that run might take me days.
I'm interested in what you said about the bigger reason for doing the race, and the fact that you are comfortable with your body, and you're comfortable with the fact you're not losing weight specifically, because that's not the reason you're doing it, but also might not be the reason you're doing it. But it's always nice sometimes.
It's a bonus, yeah, for
it's
sure.
A bonus, isn't it? But you've got to a point with yourself where you're comfortable with that, and you can say, look, fuck that, I'm strong, and I finished this race. It doesn't matter what I look like, to an extent. Is that the same? Would that version of you 9 years ago have had the same attitude?
I don't know. Like, you know, when I look back on photos of when I was, you know, doing those events, like, and it's funny, and everyone has a different psychology, you know, on different psychology, different psyche, I suppose, on what they look like, you know, like, and where they are at that point. Like, I've never thought I've been a particularly thin person. But shit, when I look back on some of those photos, you know, the first ever 70.3 I did was in Ely in Cambridgeshire. It was a monster racing one. And there's a finisher photo of me. It's like, holy shit. Like I can see my like muscles, you know, I can see the definition and stuff. Never actually realized it at the time, you know. And a similar thing, like I never used to think, I've always thought I've never been a particularly good runner. But when I was looking back on times, when I was giving it to my new coach on like where I've been in the past and all that, and I was looking up, and I did the Oxford half, and that was by itself, it was the first half I'd ever done without it being, having a swim and run in front of it. And I did
Like
it in
go super
like
fast.
an,
You
an
weren't
hour
running.
54 or something. It's like, really? I did a bloody sub 2 hour, and I never thought I was a decent runner at all. And then so it's so funny, like what we picture in our heads or what we think of at the time. And I'll admit, when it comes to running and stuff, like Mark's an amazing runner, and I would never compare myself to him, but there is a little bit like, like, well, I'm not, I'm cruising along at 11 miles an hour kind of thing, 11 miles an hour, 11 minutes a mile, and he's practically walking at that, and so maybe there is a bit of that of like, wow, like you did it in sub 5 hours, and I did it in 6 hours 30, and I've got to be careful because the language that I use, I only did 85 miles. It's like I wanted to do 110 miles, and this lady that's in part of my kind of that I train with a lot. So you've got to take that language out, that only language. You've got to take that word out of your vocabulary. And I think maybe that's just you're always trying to self-improve. Well, I'm certainly someone that's always trying to self-improve. And so, but then getting back to the original questions, I don't know what 9 years ago, if I would have been happy with it. 9 years, you mature a lot, I think, and I also accept that having not making 3 kids as an excuse, but 3 kids do have an impact. Like God love that little girl. She's pretty awesome. She has to be, because I'm pretty sure it was her that screwed up my, like the whole thyroid thing. There was nothing going on before her. And you've got to accept that your body changes, and your body, I think, especially for a woman as well, you've got to be in tune with it and accept what's going on constantly. I'm a 46-year-old woman. I'm not a 35, 36, 37-year-old woman anymore. Shit changes over a 9-year period, so you've just got to learn to accept yourself a little bit as well.
Weight is a strange metric. I mean, you were talking about pictures from 9 years ago and how you look at them and you see yourself. I'm willing to bet as much money as I've got in the bank that if you'd taken a picture of yourself 12 months ago before you started this training, your weight may not have changed in any way, but I'm willing to bet your body shape and composition has changed dramatically.
I'm sure it has, and I'll definitely say, like, I'm loving my legs, like my legs look great. And that's awesome. It's weird, like 46-year-old wearing like super short skirts, probably not appropriate, but I'm loving that. So that's yeah, I'm sure that has happened, and like I'm fit. It's pretty amazing. There's a really good book actually. It's called The Gap and the Gain. I highly recommend listening to it, and sometimes Mark and I, remind each other. It's like, where are you? Are you in the gap or are you in the gain? And sometimes if I do like fall into like, oh shit, I only did 85 miles or whatever, it's like, where are you? Are you in the gap or the gain? What were you doing 3 months ago? 3 months ago, could you do 85 miles? Could, a year ago, could you have even done 20 miles without being knackered? So like always looking in the gain as opposed to the gap.
I think that's really important. And also, because I'm the same. I think not most women, can't speak for all of us. It's quite the same thing. I've been training for a couple of years now, long distance running, and I don't think anyone needs to see me in a bikini, but it doesn't matter. I've gone past the point now of being paranoid about what I look like in the summer in a t-shirt or a pair of shorts, because I know that my legs can run for days.
Yeah.
Literally.
And that's awesome. Like
it's amazing. It's so much better. It's so much better.
it's so good. And and like I said before, like our bodies change so much, and men as well, like they really do change. And it's just that it's about being strong, and it's about what it's doing inside, and it's the confidence that it gives you, like and I think this is going to be one of the things that something I haven't, and I don't know if it's one of your questions. It's like also one of the things that I really have wanted to get from training. It's not confidence. I've got plenty of confidence, but it gives you a bit more confidence to know that you can do something so hard, and that you can mentally get through it. And one of the things that what was important to me to prove to myself in many respects is the consistency. Can I consistently train for 12 months to be able to cross this line? Because hand up, consistency hasn't been my friend, and it can so easily like just veer off on things, and that's been part of the thing. It's like, yes, I can be bloody consistent for something that is so physically, demanding.
So what's the most important thing to you? Has it been the journey to get there, or the race itself?
That's
Because
the journey.
yeah, okay, so the journey's been transformative. How important is that finish line to you? Because you're going to finish it, you're going to cross the line, but many things can happen in a race, be it a
100%.
mechanical or an injury or an accident, or were the unthinkable to happen, are you the type of person that could reset, process that, and say, I'll just do another one?
Pretty sure I could. I'll be pissed off. There's no denying that. If there was a mechanical or something like that, or there was ridiculously bad weather and they didn't have to swim. I don't know. There
Yeah,
were
no one
massive
likes to
waves in
shorten
there.
or remove swim, do they?
Yeah, exactly. Like it would be gutting if a part of it was removed, or for unforeseen circumstances, or there was something, terrible mechanical happen and stuff. I think I would pick myself up and do another one. I'd like to think I would. I'm pretty sure I would. And because it's very much been, and I need to know that I can do that run as well. Like I need to know, and I'm pretty confident that even if that run turns to absolute shit, and I don't know, went beyond time, I'd still finish that run if it went beyond time. Like I have to, even if it didn't mean a medal at the end, I have to know that I can finish that. And that's pretty unlikely. And I want to say the right words, but it's so important for me to finish it. And so if it's not this one, there will be another one to finish it. I've got to close that loop. That loop has to be closed.
So when that loop is closed, will you not have any other races, or do you think this is going to be something that you keep on doing?
So I've been surrounded around by amazing people. You guys, James, like incredible people here. My neighbors, there's a guy in the neighborhood, Kevin, who has done quite a few Ironmans, and that's been awesome. And then there's my other like cycling kind of community and stuff like that. Anyway, all that being said, Kevin really wanted to come out and do Switzerland, and it just didn't really work out for him. And then who is coming out with us, Audie, James, you'll meet. He's been sending me events, he's been sending me bloody ultra stuff. It's like, settle down. But Kevin's like, why not Ironman Texas? Because it's probably going to be stinking hot. I might train in this damn heat, but do I want to do a race in this damn heat? And Ironman Texas, like, really? It's Houston? I'm going from Switzerland to do Houston. But it's meant to be a great race and meant to be a great crowd and stuff like that. So I don't know. I wouldn't mind just playing with 70.3s for a bit, because the time commit. That's the thing, like doing an Ironman and then over this at least call it a 3-month period, where I'm just out, pretty much out, either physically or mentally. And that, although Mark is 100% behind me doing another Ironman, he's all on board with like this being a constant, and that's awesome. I just think 70.3s might be more doable with the family at this age.
Much more manageable distance to train for, and
Much more.
it's an easier distance to be able to go and race as well. You can really attack a 70.3 without the fear of blowing up
Yeah.
like a motherfucker.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's so funny how your perspective changes. I've got my long run next weekend, I think, and so I've got a short cycle on the Saturday, and it's 3.5 hours. It's like, oh, sweet, 3.5 hour bike ride, That used to be my max, like I was doing sub 3 on an Ironman. So that would be 3.5 would be an over distance. And so, but your perspective changes so much. It's like, oh my gosh, like 3 Mark's like, oh, sweet, you'll be home by like 12 o'clock. Great. So it really does change. And that's why I had to write notes with the time commitment. I think if anyone is listening to this and, they're thinking about taking this on board, I remember Mark saying, like, he still says that that if he had actually thought about it, at any great length at the beginning when I was like looking at it, he always knew it was going to come. Like it was always, because I've tried so many times. But if you think too much about it at the beginning, then that just can become overwhelming. And I think that's the same, like for him, like, holy shit, like this is a big, weekend time commit, because really it's just the weekends. I fit the rest in early in the morning and stuff. And I work for myself, which is a bonus. But if he thought too much about it, then that just becomes too overwhelming. It's just like, let's just do it. Let's just do it, and we'll just take it as it comes. And I think the same goes for so many things, but, relating it to training, with doing, an Ironman. Like if you sit back and you hum and you ha and you think about it, it's like, oh, I don't know if I could do that, and oh no, I don't have the right gear, or I don't have a bike, or I don't have this, but all the things you can make it, you can really blow it up. And actually, just start. Your training is only about 6 or 7 hours a week. That's just getting outside and doing shit, an hour a day. That's not a lot. And it just gradually, because if you look at things like a big giant mountain, you're never going to do anything. And that's going to freeze you. But just taking it like step by step, then it's not so overwhelming. And eventually you look back and you look at like 3.5 bike ride. Oh, sweet. Where previously that was your max,
Yeah,
So
I love that. Yeah. Because now for me, my short run is an hour.
yeah.
Whereas a couple of years ago, that would have been monumental,
Yeah.
running for
Yeah.
an hour. But now it's like my Monday short run. Love it.
Yeah. And it's just the whole thing, like just doing exercise. Like you don't know the impact that you have on like what you guys are doing here. Like I think it's awesome. Like on and it's not say like I'm doing this to motivate people. I'm not. One of the reasons I'm doing it is because I've got an able body, and so many people have an able body and they don't use it. And and I'll kind of got to be careful of what I say, but it's also, I can also say what I want. But, there's serious health issues in America. There's a lot of, obese people, and they've got these bodies that can move. And if you just get out, do something, better walk. I remember at one point in my life, I was living in Sydney, and I was living in I don't know if you guys have spent time in Sydney, but I was in like the Coogee eastern suburbs, it's called, area, and it's really, really hilly, and it's like I'm just going to start walking. And so an hour every night, it was summertime, and I would just go out walking for an hour every night around the really, really hilly eastern suburbs. And it was awesome. And that's all you need to start with, is just start with something, and then the next thing can come, and then the next thing.
Love it. Yeah, I love that. I've got one last question for you, Zoe. So we know Mark is a cheerleader for you, and we know you've got some great support from your neighbours and stuff. How about your kids? Are your kids your cheerleaders as well? Do they know
Yeah.
what's going on?
Oh, I might bring a little tear to my eye there. So yeah, they are. Thomas, especially, he's my 7-year-old. I've got a 4, 7, and 9-year-old. And Thomas is very much about fitness and very much about, like, he'll just randomly get our, exercise mat out and just like start doing press ups, and
Legend.
he is. He's really started getting into yoga lately. He goes, "Oh, Mum, I just learned this pose. Look at this. It's so good. It feels so good." And it's child's pose. And
amazing.
yeah. But the kids all know exactly what I'm doing. And they are like, it was cool. I was on a big bike ride the weekend before this last one. And I actually text Mark at the halfway point, just saying, right, I'm halfway going back out, just giving an update. Could actually do with some support, verbalize it instead of just assuming he knows exactly what I want. And then it was a tough part of the cycle. Had headwind. Don't you hate it when there's like a headwind? You think you're going to get the tailwind, on the return, and then the wind changes and it's like a headwind again. It's like, oh, for goodness sake. And I was like, I don't know, 5 hours in or something. And then Mark, has driven 50 miles out, and then I just hear this car beep, 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 and the kids hanging out the car. And I was like, "Go, Mummy, go, Mummy." Like, it was so cool, and it's such a pickup. It really, really is. You can do it, Mummy, you can do it. So yeah, they are. And after every session as well, it's like, how'd it go? And it's cool. And it's also, I just love that you never know. You hope that this kind of thing is going to be set some kind of foundation. I'm not going to say, I want all my kids to be triathletes. They can do their own thing, but we've always, going back to right at the beginning, you wanted that foundation of like sport just being in our lives, and for it to be in the kids' lives, and that's the norm. And hopefully,
look what Mummy did when she was 46.
Yeah. And as they grow up, that just, being out and about and being active is the norm. It's not sitting on the couch playing video games is the norm, and that's, hopefully they see that. Hopefully.
I think they will. And tell Thomas I can't wait to see him again. I love that.
Yeah. He's cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Talking about, obviously I'm going to be at the race in July, going to come and cheer you on and across the finish line.
Yes.
Will you give us 10, 15 minutes of your time afterwards come on and tell the listeners how you got on?
I will, absolutely.
Oh, I can't wait to hear it.
Excellent.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
So now I have the most important question of the podcast, which is we get every guest to add a song to the Get Out On It playlist on Spotify. So what training song are you going to add to our Get Out On It playlist?
It's a really, really hard one, and also embarrassing. I've got 2 at the moment that how I don't run with music, because I like to just do it hard, like, yeah, awesome, let's have like 36 degrees and no music. But then on this last run on Sunday, I decided to have some music, because there's also a crowd when you're in an event. You've got, like, so I'm getting a bit of pickup from the music and substituting it for what the crowd would be like. So 2 songs. Can I just preface this?
Who gave you permission for 2? Like,
you can choose. I know I can't choose. Like, they're both kind of embarrassing, both of them. Anyway, I want to preface this as like, Mark and I met in a club, to Roger Sanchez. This is years ago, so he's probably not cool as far as house music's concerned. So, I used to be cool and used to like house music and stuff. So saying this song is a little bit embarrassing, but it's Silence by Daru. You're with like Sarah McLachlan. Do you know the one?
Yeah, cool. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, we'll have to hear what the second one is, and we can decide which one is added to the list.
Well, the other one makes me really emotional. Like I almost cry at the end of a run. So you might not want to put that one in. Do you know the soundtrack? Do you know the movie slash theatre production Once?
I do not.
Oh, we got a new one for you. Dun 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 dun. Okay, let me pull up my playlist as opposed to the kids. So it's Glenn Hansard, When Your Mind's Made Up. It's
Okay.
just, it
Okay.
really moves me. It really just moves my heart. And I totally, it's my favorite movie, and I kind of just hadn't listened to any of the music up until about a week ago, and I just added it to my playlist. And
I think that should be the one that goes on.
yeah, it's a random one. And it's just awesome.
Okay.
But
I think I just your reaction is more visceral to that one. So I think that one's been
totally.
nominated as the one
okay,
that's
that's
on
going to
the
go
playlist.
in. If we are talking music though, can I do a plug for some music? If you
Awesome.
haven't, you're into your music. Have you heard of I think I sent it to you actually, Runaway to Mars?
Yes, you sent it to me. It was good.
Yeah. Shit,
Yeah.
it's a good song.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, enjoyed
Highly
it.
recommend that, Maria, if he hasn't shared
Okay.
that with you. It's such a beautiful song. The
Runaway
guy is
to Mars.
awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. There
I
you
think
go.
your taste in music might reject it, but I'll let
Oh
you
yeah,
do it.
probably actually. I might. Yeah.
Is it
I
not?
do listen to a bit of AWOL Nation. Like that might be a little bit more, it's not totally your thing, but at least it's a little bit like it's banging her head.
Head banging, yeah.
Uh,
Brilliant. I think we should definitely put the more emotional song on the
Agreed.
playlist.
Agreed.
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, throw that bad boy on. It's a great song. Great movie too. Highly recommend.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us, Zoe. It's been a pleasure. It's been amazing to see you again. It's been too long.
It has.
And I wish I was there in July. I really, really do. But I know James is going to speak to you. I know we're going to get some footage as well. So I will be there very
In
much.
spirit.
In spirit, absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you
No.
so much for your inspirational conversation today.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you soon. See you next month, James. And yeah, hopefully it will changing language. It'll be a very positive 15-minute chat after, not directly after the race, please.
Oh yeah, there's a microphone.
Yeah.
Right.
Family, how do you feel,
I've got
Zoe?
this interview book. All right.
Awesome. All right, guys, take care. And
Cheerio.
thanks
Bye-bye.
again. All right. Bye.
The debrief.
The emphasis was correct, I feel. So that was awesome. Zoe's awesome. I've known her for a very long time. I've almost known her as long as I have known you, but not quite. You take it by about 2 years. What did you think of that chat with Zoe?
I think that was awesome. Do you know what? I think there are going to be so many women out there who are going to be so inspired by what Zoe had to say. Like, I'm a woman, but I've never had kids. I have worked with kids, and I have a lot of nieces and nephews, and I know that young children, take a lot of time. They take a lot of energy. And I can imagine that for a few women out there, once they've had their family, they think, that's it. I'm gonna spend my time with my family, and I have to forego my training. I have to forego the sports and activities I enjoyed doing before. But I think Zoe's story, carrying on the way she did with all of her sports, training for this Ironman, what an inspiration.
Yeah, and it does show that with the the way that it's not easy. Her story shows it's not easy to just be to to have a family and to think, oh, yeah, I'm still going to do what I did. Like she was saying at the start when she was speaking to us, like initially she was like, her and Mark, her partner, were like, it'll be just the same. We'll carry on. We'll still be doing it. Reality hits home when you have kids. You suddenly can't do exactly what you thought you were going to do or exactly what you used to do. But there are ways of implementing strategies within life that allow you to move in the direction as to what you want to do. And there are changes you need to make, and there are compromises that need to be made. And, with the right support structure and the right support around you, you can achieve what you want to achieve. What I thought was interesting was the comparison between when we were talking to Kat a few weeks ago and how she'd had her car crash. And then when she came out of that, she had Ironman Switzerland to aim for. And that gave her something to move towards. And she said that without that to aim for, she probably wouldn't have got over the crash as she did. And that was when Zoe was parallel a little bit, when Zoe was saying after she'd had her first child, Olivia, and how she had a 70.3 to aim for. And that gave her something to latch onto. And then after that, when COVID hit and races were getting cancelled and she suddenly didn't have anything to aim for, that's when she started to sort of lose that ability to strategize and find a way through the minefield that is children to carry on and keep racing.
Yeah, I think that was really interesting. And I think, because I'm like that too, I need my weekly schedule. I need races and events coming up so that I know that my training blocks are for something. So I totally got what Zoe was talking about, needing that something to aim for. And I'm sure there are plenty of people out there who are like, well, I just want to go for a run once a week, or I just want to go for a hike. And that's absolutely fine. That's totally fine. But it is fascinating how in the 2 bouncing back stories that we've had, the fact that they've had something concrete to aim for has really helped them cement their training around something. I'll be fascinated with our next guests in our bouncing back series. I'm fascinated to find out if that's going to be a cyclical thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it might well be. And you're right. There are people out there that just want to go for a run sometimes, or go for a swim, or keep themselves fit and healthy. And there are different ways of doing that. But as Zoe was saying, the reason she's taken on something as big as an Ironman is because you can't wing that. It's forcing her hand. It's saying, if you're going to commit to this, if you're going to be on that start line in a year's time when she decided it, then you have got to do the work. And it doesn't matter what life throws at you within that period of time. Find a way to do the work. And she's done that, and it's going to be remarkable. I can't wait to be standing on the sidelines watching her do that race. I'm going to be all over the place. I'm going to get myself one of those little scooters and be scooting around the race course, and I'm going to be everywhere. I can't wait.
Oh, I'm so jealous. I wish I could be there. I mean, I have a super good reason for not being there. I will actually be leading a couple of weeks of sports camps for kids out here in France. So there is a super good reason for my not being there, helping the next generation love the outdoors and love being active. But I cannot wait to speak to Zoe after that race. It's going to be so incredible. I wish her all the best for that race. I'm so excited for her.
Let's be honest.
So let's take a moment to be honest about this week. Now, I'm getting a little bit repetitive. I'm getting a little bit repetitive. Obviously, I think I'm struggling less this week than I was last because
It's mystic.
I can feel the pain beginning to ease. And also as the pain starts to ease, it becomes less of an immediate pain that I feel is getting worse and more of a pain that is starting to heal. So I can feel a light at the end of the tunnel, but it's still very disappointing that I'm not running. But obviously, you keep going, you go through the recovery period, you do the work, you do the rehab, and you come out the other side, and then you have to just rebuild again. My Garmin started telling me I'm detraining, so cheers, mate.
Fucking Garmin. Oh, what a bastard. Yeah. Anyway, so for me, let's be honest, it's been a good week because you've been over here. We've been doing some walks and stuff, and it's been really, really good fun, obviously. And I have done a couple of runs. I do feel like I haven't done as much as I normally do. That's frustrating me a little bit. And I want to do more. And then I think I'm going to do it in the evening, and then it's too hot. It's the freaking heat. I'm struggling with the heat, Bale.
Yeah, well, I mean, we put some tactics in place to deal with that, didn't we? I mean, when you were doing your hill repeats this week, I sat at the bottom of the hill with a cold drink and made you have a cold drink as many times as I remembered to do it. So there are ways of working around the heat, but ultimately when it comes to this part of the world, I think in these summer months, the key is either to run very early or very late, and to be able to set that in your mind that that's what you do, and not miss. And if you miss the run in the morning, to not allow your subconscious to think, well, I haven't done that run now and I'll move on. Obviously, if you don't want to do the run, don't do the run, but make a decision early on whether it's going to be a morning run or an evening run, and get your mind into that place.
Yeah, I've got a really bad habit of bollocking myself when I don't do something, because there was one I think what day was it? Monday. It was Monday. I was supposed to do an hour's run, and I didn't do it in the morning because I'm a lazy fuck and I didn't want to wake up early. So I said to myself I'd do it in the evening after teaching, because it would be late enough, it would be cool enough. And I didn't fancy it because I'd done my work day and I couldn't be asked. And then I got grumpy because I hadn't done it, and then I got guilty because I hadn't done it and I was supposed to. And it's a minefield. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. You did get a little bit grumpy, didn't you? A little tiny bit. But then we had an ice cream, so we replaced that run with an ice cream and made it all better. So shall we put some music on and forget all about it?
No, let's get some coffee.
Oh yeah, I forgot we do the coffee thing.
The weekly roast. Is that it?
Let's have a coffee in it. I've done my 2 weeks in a row, so it's your turn now. Take us through what you've got and where you got it from.
Okay, so you're in Lyon. We did a lovely hike in the Monts, and now I'm taking you all the way into town. I'm taking you back to Cafe Moxa. We did have a coffee from this place in our very, 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 very first episode, but I'm coming back to this cafe because it's fucking awesome. And also, they've got some new beans from, I'm going to say this wrong, Myanmar. Oof, sorry, Myanmar. Anyway, so this is a new beans, and you really leveled up last week. So it was a bit of a mission for me trying to find a coffee bean that was going to, like, match yours from last week.
Was it a bit intimidating?
Fuck yeah. It was very, very intimidating. Anyway, so I found these beans at Cafe Moxa, and they're from Myanmar. Thanks very much. And it's a kind of similar story. So there was this group of people. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce the name of this group of people because I'll pillage it and it'll be awful. There was a group of people who were refugees living in the big, big high hills. 1,500 meters was the altitude. And they started growing coffee beans, and they were kind of doing it in secret because I think before, like, it was people could only buy their coffee beans on a black market or something like that. It was a little bit kind of dubious. Anyway, there was apparently, now I'm reading all of this off the back of the coffee bean thing, and it's all in French, so I'm trying to translate in my head as I go. And there was like some kind of national competition for coffee beans, and this refugee group who were hiding up in the hills growing their beans in secret, they won it. They won the competition. Anyway, so now these beans are being sold at very, very good prices for them. So they're not being shafted by anyone. They're getting good prices for their coffee beans. And we're getting it here in France, and it's fucking delicious.
I can second that. As regular listeners know, I drink my coffee properly, so I'm sucking down an espresso, and the flavour notes are really remarkable. It's not very bitter, it's light, and it's got a kind of a caramelly, raisiny feel to it with a little bit of licorice in there as well.
Yeah, it's a little bit special. And I've gone way off-piste because we were actually at the cafe. I've gone way off-piste. I'm not even having a coffee. I'm having a turmeric latte.
And how is that for you?
It's quite spicy, but it's quite nice for the super hot weather. I'm digging it.
Indeed. And I had, before I had the espresso, I had a one of those nitro cold brews, which really cooled me down and got my body temperature ready for this hit of espresso to send us on our way for the rest of the day.
Right, now it's time for music. Turn it up.
That'll probably do, won't it? Yes, it is indeed. And I've got a song this week taken from a band that we've already had on the playlist once. It's a band called Gunship, and the song is Time After Time, which is a cover of a 1983 track by Cyndi Lauper, taken from Gunship's 2018 album Dark All Day. I love this song, and every time it comes on, it makes me think of you.
Me?
Yeah, because it's all soppy.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Well, I've gone for something way more pumped. I have picked a Chemical Brothers track, which, takes me back. Although I didn't realise it was going to take me quite so far back. I picked Galvanise because it's such a wicked tune, but it turns out it's from an album that they released in 2005.
Yeah, this surprised me when we were looking it up last night. This track called Galvanise is a fantastic tune to chain to, but it came out in 2005, and that's fucking ages ago.
I'm not that old.
Turns out you are.
But anyway, Galvanise from their Push the Button album. It's a fucking wicked track, and it is so much fun to run to.
Yeah, so those are our two songs for this week, added to the playlist, but also Zoe's track, When Your Mind Is Made Up, taken from some film that she enjoys. So check out our playlist on Spotify, and that's probably it from us this week, isn't it?
I think it is, yeah. Our playlist is really random now, by the way.
Indeed. So if you enjoyed this episode, give us a like or a review on your podcatcher of choice. And also, if you're interested in what we do and learning more about us, go to the website www.getoutinit.events, where you can have a look at all the things we offer, all the personal coaching, all the camps we're doing, and you can download our personal development friend and book a free consultation with us to talk about your health, fitness, and future plans.
All of that sounds amazing. Let's do it. Do it. Sign up. Come and see us. Come and see us in the flesh.
And that's it. So, cheerio.
Bye.
Thanks for hitting the trails with us this week. We'll meet you back here next Monday for more news, more views, more nature.
All the links for our socials are in the show notes. Find and follow us on Facebook, Insta, YouTube and Twitter. You can subscribe to our newsletter from our website for all the latest updates and camp plans. You get a fun free gift when you sign up.
Leave a review on your podcast app. It's really easy and really helps us out.
And if you've got any friends who could do with getting out in it, then bring them along to next week's outdoor adventure. We'd love to have you all with us.
Catch you next week. Cheerio.